Today's Talk About It Tuesday question is, what are the pros and cons of being an independent contractor? Okay, so I'm going to tackle that question from both sides as a business owner and as a potential independent contractor. But let's just really talk about the difference because between an independent contractor and an employee, because most people really don't understand the difference. So I've employed people as permanent employees and I've employed people as independent contractors, and personally, by far, I prefer independent contractors. So let's talk about the difference. So an employee is someone that you hire to be a part of your company who follows your company policy, rules, procedures. You set the workflow, you manage them, they buy into the culture, they get a salary, a fixed salary, they get benefits, you tell them when they can go to lunch, what time they start the day, what time they finish the day, how many days off they have, how many paid sick days they have, whatever benefits you have. You also have to pay unemployment insurance for them in case they get laid off. You also have to withhold taxes for them. You also have to pay into Social Security for them. And so there's a lot of stuff that goes into having an employee. And as an employer, by far, your greatest expense will always be labor, right? And so the issue with labor is that they're not productive all day, every day. And so for a great part of the day, you're paying people that aren't very productive in terms of making the company more money. And here's the issue too. The longer someone is employed at your business, usually the less productive they become, not the more productive they become, because they're not trying to impress you anymore. And they're, not worried about getting fired anymore. And the longer they stay, the less productive they tend to become. But at the same time, the more they expect to be paid just for surviving the cut, just from longevity itself. So there's usually this very dichotomous relationship, right? So as an employer, I want to get as much out of you as possible for the least amount of money because it cuts into my profits. And you want to get as much money as possible as the employee with doing the least amount of work, because why would you work more if you can get the same amount of money? So there's this weird relationship that exists between employer and employee that doesn't tend to make either side happy over the longevity. Why would somebody be an employee? Because everything is fixed. There's a level of security that comes with being an employee. You know what time you're going to come in. You know when you're going to get paid, how much you're going to get paid. You pretty much know what the workflow is. You know the culture of the company. You know how to survive that. Even if you don't really like it, there's an element of familiarity that is comforting for a lot of people, knowing what to expect week after week, year after year. And so why would somebody be an independent contractor? So let's go back to the employer side. Why would I hire an independent contractor? So an independent contractor is someone not that I hire, but that I contract, that I create a contract with to do a specific type of work at a specific time. Meaning, if I have a project that's coming up and I need somebody who's skilled in a particular skill set to be able to handle it, or I need extra bodies because maybe I have a core group of permanent employees, but I need to bring in some extra help, but I don't need them after the project, then I contract somebody for a specific period of time for a specific project to get it done. I, in general, don't have to manage them, and really, because of their skill set, don't have to either. And here's the thing. I can actually pay them more per hour, if we did it per hour, than I could an employee, because I don't have to worry about paid vacation. I don't have to worry about paid sick days. I don't have to pay into unemployment. I don't have to pay or withhold taxes. That's on them. And so they can ask me for more money for the project than I normally would pay one of my employees. I can pay them that, get better quality work, because they're going to try to impress me because they want to come back possibly if I have another project. So I'm going to get the best out of them. And even though I paid them more than I would normally pay per hour, it still saves me a lot of money because I'm not paying for unproductive time. Again, I'm not paying into any benefits, health benefits, or anything else. I'm not paying into unemployment. I don't have to pay all those extras, so I can pass on some of that savings that I'm going to have to them. So let's flip it again. Why would you be an independent contractor when there's no job security? Well, you can demand much more money for the same kind of work that somebody as an employee would get. You don't have to worry about usually being micromanaged. You have great flexibility in terms of time. Usually, I mean, there may be a span, specific time for the project, but in terms of hours, there's usually a lot of flexibility in hours. You have variety because you can work for 5 companies at the same time. You can get the work done, but you can go from company to company to company. So you get to experience a lot of different places, a lot of different people. You have the freedom to, if you decide I don't want to work for a month, you don't work for a month. If you decide I want to work, I don't know, straight for 7 months, then you work straight for 7 months. You have much more flexibility. You have much more variety. You have much more freedom. And you can make much more money if you're good at selling yourself. So that's the difference. You have to continuously sell yourself, where somebody who's an employee sells themselves pretty much once, and then they just have to survive on the job. Where independent contractor, when this job is up, you need to have another thing ready to go. So you also have to budget properly, because as an independent contractor, again, Social Security, taxes are not withheld. You're still responsible for that stuff at the end of the year. So you got to hold on to some of that. So you have to budget well, because you don't know necessarily when your next job is going to be around. You have to have great sales skills in terms of selling your skills. You have to perform every time that you're contracted to do work. You have to withhold a certain amount of money so that you can pay your taxes and pay into Social Security. You have to make sure you can get health insurance on your own and be able to afford that. So there are some other things. And there are some horror stories with independent contractors who they finish a job and they have an expectation of being paid, and they don't get paid right away. And since you don't have an advocate at the job, and you don't have a union, there's no union rep, you don't necessarily have somebody pushing for you. So you have to make sure your contract is very specific and very clear in terms of how much you get paid, why you get paid, when you get paid, because the only recourse you have if they don't follow that is to take that contract to court and sue them. So if you're not ready to, pursue it in a lawsuit, you have no other recourse. That company can sit on it as long as they want to, because there's nothing else you can do about it. So very rare, though. Horror stories like that are very rare. And on the flip side, there can be some horror stories. Like, I had an independent contractor who I let go, and he tried to file for unemployment. And then, so I ended up getting audited to make sure he wasn't an employee. So you can be, a couple of horror stories on both sides of the fence. But in general, it is fantastic as a company owner to bring in independent contractors only when you need them, have a skeleton crew of people that you need, and then bring in independent contractors. The good thing about that, too, is you get to choose from a global workforce for independent contractors, depending on the type of work, right? If it's remote kind of work, you can choose from the global workforce, which means you can get better quality workers in general. From the other side, as an independent contractor, you can do the same thing. You can market yourself globally. And so there are endless opportunities for you to be able to profit on either side of this. So independent contractor, definitely, the way to go, and probably the wave of the future. There'll probably be less and less permanent employees because they're just not needed in most cases. So I love this question. Great question. I'd love to hear your comments. Please like, share, subscribe. Keep the questions coming, and I'll see you next Tuesday.